Captain Marcus Webb stared at the flashing red alarm on the engineering console. The core temperature was rising exponentially. The ship's AI, Aria, had already calculated the trajectory of the catastrophe with mechanical precision. "Captain, the reactor will achieve critical mass in 10 seconds, Aria announced calmly, as if discussing weather patterns rather than the imminent annihilation of the entire crew. Evacuation is no longer possible. All escape pods have been disabled by the cascade failure." Around Marcus, his multi-species crew froze. The Valurian navigator's crystalline exoskeleton began to fracture from pure stress. The Tellurian pilot's three eyes widened to their maximum aperture. The ethereal communications officer flickered erratically, a visible sign of emotional distress. 9 seconds remained. Marcus Webb laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not a desperate laugh. A genuine, belly-deep laugh that echoed through the command center like a bell in the void of space. His crew stared at him as if he'd finally lost his mind. Perhaps he had. But after 30 years of space exploration, Marcus had learned something that alien species never quite grasped. Sometimes the only rational response to the irrational was to acknowledge its absurdity. 9 seconds, he said between fits of laughter, and you're all looking at me like I should have a solution written in stone. The Valurian navigator made a clicking sound of distress. "Captain, I fail to see the humor in our collective demise." "That's because you think in probabilities," Marcus replied, his fingers already moving across the console with practiced certainty. "You see the numbers and surrender to them. But humans? We see the impossible and laugh at it first, because sometimes laughter is what clears the mind." 8 seconds. His hands flew across the engineering panel. Most captains would have panicked. Most captains would have frozen or tried to implement textbook solutions that Aria had already proven wouldn't work. But Marcus wasn't most captains. He understood something fundamental about human physiology that the galaxy's greatest engineers had overlooked: humans thrived under pressure. Their cortisol levels surged, their synapses fired faster, their pattern recognition sharpened to supernatural levels. What aliens called fighting or flight, humans called getting the job done. 7 seconds. Aria, redirect all power from the secondary life support systems to the magnetic containment field, Marcus commanded. "That will suffocate the crew within minutes," Aria protested, her logic circuit struggling with the illogical order. "We won't have a crew to suffocate if that reactor goes critical," Marcus snapped. "Do it." 6 seconds. The lights flickered as Aria rerouted power. Alarms screamed. The ship groaned under the strain. The ethereal officer's form became nearly transparent with fear. 5 seconds. "Now, emergency coolant injection into sectors 7 through 12, maximum pressure," Marcus ordered, his voice steady as a rock while his mind calculated variables that would make lesser beings weep. 4 seconds. The ship shuddered. Sparks erupted from overhead panels. The Tellurian pilot gripped his seat with all 4 appendages. 3 seconds. Marcus slammed his palm against a manual override that hadn't been used in 40 years. It was an old trick, something from the early days of space exploration. A failsafe that worked on the principle that sometimes brute force combined with precise timing could accomplish what elegant engineering couldn't. 2 seconds. The reactor's temperature began to plateau. The climb slowed. The exponential curve flattened. 1 second. The alarm changed tone. The red light shifted to yellow, then amber. The reactor stabilized, hovering at 98% of critical mass, close enough to hell to feel its heat, but stable. Breathing room. Survival. 0 seconds. The command center fell into stunned silence. The Valurian navigator's crystals stopped vibrating. The Tellurian pilot slowly released his death grip on his seat. The ethereal officer's form solidified back into visible matter. "Captain," Aria said slowly, that solution violated 17 fundamental safety protocols and should have failed by a margin of 0.003%. Marcus grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. But it worked, didn't it? Yes, Arya admitted. Though I cannot calculate how you determined that specific sequence of commands. That's because it wasn't calculated, Marcus said, leaning back in his chair. It was remembered. Humans have been solving impossible problems with inadequate resources since we invented fire. It's in our DNA. We don't surrender to impossible odds, we laugh at them, and then we do something stupid that somehow works. The Valyrian navigator approached Marcus, his crystalline form reflecting the ambient light with newfound respect. Captain, I believe I understand now why your species has not only survived but thrived in the void. You are fundamentally irrational in a way that defies logic, and that irrationality is your greatest asset. Marcus smiled. Welcome to the human condition. We call it winging it. As the engineering team began repairs, Marcus returned his attention to the console. The reactor purred like a satisfied cat, stabilized and cooperative. Around him, his alien crew members exchanged uncertain glances. They had learned something today: never underestimate a human's ability to laugh in the face of annihilation and emerge victorious. It was, after all, what humans did best. Kindly like and subscribe channel. Thank you.